Hey, this is Jack Downs. Got a demo for you of the titles exercise. You should have the handout instructions, which includes some screenshots, which will be helpful. Um, yeah, this video will be helpful too, or I demoed it in class. Maybe you're going back over it. You're going to get here the techniques that you need to do very similar editing on your webcam video. Although that will have additional clips with it, it's really the same kind of idea. So you'll want to, that's one of the reasons to do this. And also it helps you to learn more about about titles of different kinds, including credits and how to use some pre-prepared things and some other things too. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I have gone and I've made my folders. I grabbed the boys video. I've dropped it into my project area, or use my media browser to go get it. I could be in the assembly workspace. I tend to spend most of my time in the editing workspace here, but we're also going to be using the captions and the effects too. Okay, and of course, as usual, to begin with, we only have one video clip, and we have to get it onto the timeline. So I'm going to go drag it and drop it on the timeline. And when we do, of course, as usual, we see that this has created a sequence here. It's used the same name. We could change it if we want, but it's not going to be confusing. We only got one clip and the sequence is created. We could view this and play it and listen to it. And of course, it's this Celtic rock music from the Battle of Plattsburgh. Good. So we're going to imagine that we're going to create and this is also 25, 30 seconds long or something, so it's got a little length to it. We're going to imagine we're going to create an intro title, kind of an intro slide, you could call it, right? We're going to use one of the pre-made ones. So to get to it, we need to go to captions and graphics. All right, we still say most of our stuff stays the same, but we've added this essential graphics panel over here. You may see in some demos and so on, this essential graphics panel being over here. You could view it over here too. There's different ways to put these screens together, but this is the default one, right? And if we're not going to be on edit, we're going to be on browse. So on browse, we're going to do a search, and we're going to search for title, not titles, but title. Okay, good. And here it says in the instructions, I want you to find the basic title on background. So that you see there's a bunch of pre-made one, basic third left, basic third right, basic title on background. And there it is. So what do I do with this? Well, I'm going to have you drag and drop it right at the beginning of the video. But I'm actually going to probably do this on its own, but essentially be dropping it on the empty track above the video, like this. I drag and drop it right there. Okay, and it comes in with a default length, which I believe is 5 seconds. By the way, if you ever want to find the length of something, you just hover over it and then let your cursor rest there, and it will come up. And you see the duration that was shown there was a duration of 4:29, which is 5 seconds. Remember, that's frames, and there's 30 frames in a second. So there you go. So essentially, it's 5 seconds. So what has that done? Well, I won't know unless my scrubber cursor is here over it, and that's how I want to make sure that's where it is. It's put a big blank title there, and it's obviously has some kind of a screen, kind of a grayness there, which also helps the title to pop up there a little bit. So here I'm going to have you type Glengarry Boys, and then in the second line, Battle of Plattsburgh, all caps. Okay, so I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to select that. And when I do, I notice that everything's changed over here. We're gone into the edit mode of our Essential Graphics panel. We can do all kinds of things here. But I suggested you type Glengarry Boys, 2 R's, B-H-O-Y-S, which is the name of the band. And I'm going to hit enter to go to the next line. And I'm going to type in all caps, Battle of Plattsburgh, which is too long, but that's okay. We'll take care of that. So This top one is, how big is it? If I click into the top line, select some of that letters there, whatever, we will see that the, where's the sizing? There it is. It's at 200, the font size. You know, 200 what? Normally it should be 200 points, and maybe it is. I'm not sure exactly how they're doing the measurement, but 200 something. Okay, that's good. This bottom line though, I want to make it, and if I could double click in there, I can select the whole thing. I could just select it by manually. I'm going to make it more like 100, 97. That would be fine. Okay, good. All right, and I like this font fine, which is Source Sans Pro. I think it'll be fine. If you want to change it, you could. Also, the 5 seconds is fine. I could just drag that and make it longer though if I wanted to. I suggest about, yeah, actually my instructions I say about 80 point, but that's fine. Sure, something like that, right? And with this line selected, I'm going to use leading to add space between the lines, it says. Well, yes, I will. Look at these type tools I have: tracking, kerning, leading. What's leading? It's the space between text. So if I start to click, I could use a slider, right? I could move it to the right. And what's happening? I'm moving that line apart. I'll have a little bit of space there. Okay, good. So I did that. And where am I? I could change the formatting here, adding the space. Also, my line. In case doing this and this stuff, I've gotten things kind of out of whack. These two buttons here in Align and Transform, I could click on vertical center. It'll center it there. I could click on horizontal center, and it made a slight change there. These have to do with alignment of multiple things, but they can be useful. They take a little bit of work to get used to. What else? I could do something about the background. I could change that, but I think it's fine. I could put an outline on the text. I can get to those things in here in the appearance area. I could do other text changes. Well, you can leave those the same, but we do want to add a cross dissolve to the end. And the idea is, when we first see this right here at the beginning and we're listening to the music, yes, we will. I'll click off so we don't have that highlighted, okay? Okay, good. We'll click out there. Good. Yes, we will see the text come in at the same time the video starts. But at the end of it, rather than have it abruptly go to not being there, I want to have a dissolve to soften that change. So the dissolve is going to go right here at the end of the title. Okay, where will I get it? Well, if I go to Effects, right, which gives me the effects panel here, and I go to video effects, and I go to sorry, not video effects, video transitions, and I go to dissolve. You see the selected, it's actually my default is cross dissolve. When there's a blue next to it in your menu, means that it would be the default. And I can drag and drop this at the end of this clip here, right? Good. Yes, I did that. Cross dissolve. It will cause, essentially it's like a fade. And now this looks like this when I play it. And it softens the change there, just slightly. It only goes over 1 second. We'll see in a minute how we can change those things, those effects, and make them last longer or shorter or whatever. And next you can do a bunch of other changes too. Okay, so next we're down to number 10, which is lower thirds over text. About 2 to 3 seconds after the intro title, add text in the lower third area that says Glengarry Boys. To do this, we actually are going to position the cursor, and of course I could, remember I can use this, I can change the length of the scroll bar to make it zoom essentially, right? So I can see the seconds, I can zoom that even more, so I can see the individual seconds. If that's like there, so 2 seconds would be someplace, 2 to 3 seconds, it'd be somewhere around there. So I put my cursor, scrubber, what do you want to call it, there, about where I want it to be. Good. So I'm going to now I'm going to go again to the, click into the preview screen, and a default 5-second clip is formed. Right, okay. But I need to get to my captions and graphics. Go to captions and graphics. This gives me the toolbar, which includes text. And I'm going to click down here roughly. You can move it later. Click in here, and it's giving me text. And you see it's actually created a text piece of video, it calls it graphic, on top of my thing there, right? My main video, which is good. And I'm going to say Glengarry Boys at City Hall. So I'm actually going to just type that here while I'm right here. Oops. Oh, not new line. BHOS at City Hall. And we can't see that. It's way too big. So anyway, I'm going to select the whole thing. I'm going to maybe make it a different font. Let's change it to Arial is another good font to use. You can play with other fonts if you wish. I don't know how it's going to come in for you. Arial, and I could make it Arial regular bold, and I could also change the size dramatically. What do I say about the size? I want you to have about 100 maybe, which is about. I can use a slider. I could click in there and type 100 also, which might be better actually. Hit enter or tab would make it take effect. Okay, I got Glengarry Boys at City Hall. Good. And by clicking in there and doing that, I automatically have the edit field up here, right? I made a sans serif font. I'm at 100. It needs a background, which you should expand, and you could use the curved edges here also. Okay, what does that do? What do I mean? Well, if we click on the background here, and I make it bigger, I can increase the size. You know, this will look better if you'll be able to see this better if I do it like this. Okay, I click on there. With that background, I increase the size of it so it's not just tight to the letters, and I can increase it a little more if I want, whatever, something like that. And I can also make it curved edges, curved and box around too. And I can change that background, the opacity, or the amount of stuff there, the amount of darkness in it, essentially, the amount of transparency in it. I could change that. I could click in here and change the background color. I don't think there's much reason to. I could make it black or whatever, or something else. I could also here, of course, potentially go to add a stroke of some different color. Red, that would be terrible. Okay, to the letters, and I could increase the size of the stroke dramatically. The stroke width to like 20 or something. But I don't think it's a good idea. I'm going to turn that stroke off. I don't like that. So that would make it stand out more. But now I can go grab my regular tool here and take this guy and move him. I think our idea is it's in the lower third, roughly balance the space below and to the left, in a way that it's not interfering with the picture overall very much, but we can kind of see through it a little bit. And also, we would like to have a, oh, I didn't do the fade in and out of the audio either. We'll do that in just a minute. That's number 9. So the cross dissolve at the start and end. So I could go back here to effects, which is actually here, right? And I could go back to the effects. I could go grab this cross dissolve. I could drag and drop it to the start. Okay, and it says, click in, whatever. Yeah, okay, good. Yeah. However, another option is if I click near that end and do a right click and I choose apply default transition, it does the same thing. Apply default transition, that's the default transition. So that would cause it to fade in a little bit and fade out a little bit, so it's a little softer change. Oh, one thing I forgot to do though in my instructions, number 9, it says fade the audio in and out. So I could do an audio transition, a crossfade, and again, constant power is the default in this case. So I want to put an audio fade at the beginning, and the instructions say to increase the duration to 2 seconds. If I double click on that, I can change the duration to 2. Say OK. And I'm going to do one at the very end. I want to fade the audio at the beginning and end of the audio. Again, I could use the default one, same thing, and I could double click on it, or if I just single click on it, doesn't it do, or right click on it, I can set the transition duration, same thing, or double click, and I can change that to 2 seconds. Otherwise, it's a little bit too brief. So we'll hear how it sounds at the beginning. At the very beginning, You're not going to hear too much, but with your headphones on your own, for doing it yourself, you hear the sound just starts a little slowly. It comes up in volume at the very end. Okay, good. At the very beginning, and then goes down at the very end. Okay, so we did all that through there. Now we're doing the create a credit roll. Okay, good. Moving right along. This time we're going to use a different technique, but it comes out to the same thing, but it's showing you another way to do it. Instead of just creating the text, grabbing the text tool and clicking in there, we can actually tell it to create a piece of text there. So we're going to put our cursor roughly where we want it, which is within, this is more than 5 seconds from the end, something like that. That's roughly where we want to have it. And again, we're going to go to Captions and Libraries. Sorry, Captions and Graphics. This time, though, I want you to use this new layer. Select new layer, and there's lots of layers, things we could do here. We're going to choose text, which makes a new, again, 5-second piece of text at where our cursor was, and actually gives us a blank thing. Now, why is it putting a background on it and so on? It's because we use that last. And that is using the text size we use last too, which might be good or bad. In this case, it's really going to save us a little time. That's nice. And I tell you what text to put in there. We need to, we could move this guy first. I'm going to move him up here so I have a little more space. Click into the text, and I'm going to start typing. It says editor, and you are the editor. You put your name here. Oops. Yeah. Oops. Okay, where am I? There. And then we will put an extra line there, and we'll say videographer. You know what? I'm going to select all that text and see. Is my leading still screwed up? I think it is. Yeah, I think my leading was back in the bigger leading that I had chosen before. That's creating that little problem. That I'm going to bring it back to normal leading, which is probably about 0 or 1. So I could have just clicked in there and put 0. The same thing. So no additional leading, whatever. 1 is fine, whatever. Something like that. Videographer, and I'm the videographer. And I'll put a blank there, and I'm going to say it's going to be for JOU240. And you can imagine lots of more credits too. You could change the interesting textiles. You could select all that. You could center it. This centering here, which is normal text centering. Oops, that's not text centering. Okay, that centers the. Yeah, it did actually align the text, didn't it? I could have that thing selected and choose the center of this whole thing like this and like that too. I think you should bold the top line. You have to do it by choosing bold. I do too. Actually, it's all bold. That's part of the problem. I don't want it to be bold. I want it to be the other ones to be regular. So the first line to be bold. Good. And you can play with it some more. Now I could change that background a little bit, but I think it's fine. Any other things you want to do to it are fine. If you want to put some more lines in there for something, that's fine, but at least put those in. All right, so what we want to do now is we'd like this thing to roll, just to go up the screen, like credits do, right? But we need to get to something called the responsive design time. It's stuck on position right now. And the way to do this, as far as I know, the only way to do this is you have to select, click off, and then go back and select it again. And now I have responsive design time. I click on roll. I click on start off screen and end off screen, which I think are the defaults. And you could play with these if you want and learn more about them, and they're fine to use. Ease in and out can be kind of nice. So this is going to start off screen and end up on screen, and end up off screen. So it's going to look like. And first, by the way, I'll put it back so it just ends with everything else here. Oh, and you know what? I'm gonna stick a and this is in your instructions, a default transition here too. And I think we're about done there. And now it's going to look like this. transition, it's crossfades in, and then it ends when everything ends, and the volume goes down at the end. Okay, so I'm going to show you the whole thing all together now. Oops, come on. Let's get that down there. Okay, and something like that. So we have a single main piece of video. We have a title, an intro slide title here, which fades out. The first of the audio faded in. The title fades out. Then we go to a lower thirds, which fades in and out. And then we go to a rolling title. This guy here came from a pre-made thing. These two we made ourselves. And you can kind of see how we could also went in and edited and changed them too, all of them. So I hope that works for you. Again, of course, you'd be saving your project as you go. I'm not good about that in my demos, but save your project as you go. And then, of course, you're going to export using our normal export settings, and then you're going to make sure to look at what you exported outside of the program, that you make sure you got what you wanted, and that's what's going to go on Brightspace.